Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West. I'm Joe here from East Macao, Stan.
Hello and greetings.
And Merry Christmas, everyone. Joyeux Noël. We're back, and this time with the first chapter of sorts of Beren and Luthien. Or I should say, the first draft of the first chapter. And this is a really well-written piece of fiction, this first draft of this first chapter. It's remarkable how, well, technically we have a bit of the Quinta Noldorinwa, Noldorinva, but we have first off to reference the fact that the Noldor are called gnomes in a passage extracted from the Quinta. Gnomes. Not the funny little... I might as well get a Stephen Moore Shadow Band, because why not get Shadow Band? Not the little retards from Kryn and from D&D. No. We're not... These aren't retards. Nor are these the little garden gnome nonsense. This is Tolkien going with a race of elves who are wondrous and terrible. And the thing is, the gnomes are a core component of his mythology. And this is a period that is called, in songs, the Siege of Angband. Now, the wording is really lovely, as you have the swords of the gnomes then fenced the earth from the ruin of Morgoth, and his power was shut behind the walls of Angband. That's lovely. So, even though it's only 5 pages really, Tolkien writes beautifully, to say the least. And it's about this time that men come over the Blue Mountains into Beleriand. And Felagund finds them when he's visiting Celegorm in the east. The two rode out hunting, but Finrod Felagund got lost. And then, like all lost guys, he happened upon a bunch of the first men, really. And ends up coming across Beor. Beor, for those who are not familiar, is a name from the Bible. It's the name of several figures. The father of the king of the Edomites, for one thing, and a few other figures. Let me just see, I have it here. From Genesis 36:32 is Beor the father of Bela, king of Edom. You have Numbers 22:5. The father of Balaam is called Beor. And Beor appears in, several other parts. And there's someone who, he's also a figure in Tolkien's Legendarium, but there it says Beor the Old. And Beor the Old is a very important figure, because he's the first one who forms the pact of elves and men, as I like to call it, because the thing is, this pact is kind of important. It's kind of at the heart of the entire Legendarium. And, of course, Beor gets enchanted by, along with his people, all get enchanted by the music of Felagund, who plays for them a fairy song. Naturally, these first tribes, the men that are sworn to Beor, which can be, let me check page 107, they end up agreeing to basically go west, and they end up coming to reside with Felagund. Beor dies, for which Felagund is very strongly affected and shocked. All the elves are, They've never seen this happen before. Barahir then takes over for his father, and it happens that in the Battle of Sudden Flame, I had to say it that way. Matt always says it that way. The Battle of Sudden Flame. I just love how he says it. I can't quite say it the same way. Well, you have the elves who are pushed back. You have Finrod, the king of Nargothrond, who's kind of on the verge of being cut down. But who should show up but Zhao Yun? I mean, Barahir. Yes, Barahir. I didn't say Zhao Yun. No. Nobody said Zhao Yun from Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Dynasty Warriors. No one said that at all. Yeah, okay, Barahir is basically Zhao Yun. No, I'm serious. Like, this is basically the same character. Let's just be honest. I have a sneaking suspicion Tolkien did read Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Actually, let me check the translation date on the first translated edition. Okay, so the first translated English edition was in the mid-1920s, but the first French edition was in 1845. So Tolkien would have read this story by now, and by the 1920s. So, yeah, Barahir has shades of this, also due to the archetype being the same. Zhao Yun and Barahir are the same archetype. Although I'd say that Barahir is a tad more original. I'm joking. I had to crack that joke. I'm sorry. We have a lot of Chinese fans. Please don't unstop. Actually, I really like Zhao Yun. He's a good character. I'm going to be honest. The historic figure, there's not much known about him. I actually kind of like the romantic figure a lot more.
And for good reasons.
Yeah, because... but I'll be honest. Of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms interpretations and whatnot, I think that of all those characters, I think Sima Zhao from Dynasty Warriors 7 was the best interpretation of any character from that era. Zhao is really cool. If you've not played Dynasty Warriors 7, I need you to stop self-harming yourself by not playing it and go and play it. It's worth it. It's wonderful. Such a bother. Yes, I did just quote him. Anyways, Zhao Yun / Barahir, same guy, comes to the rescue of Finrod Felagund, and the Felagund ends up swearing an oath of undying friendship, and gives his ring to Barahir, swearing to come to his aid should he ever need it. Except if he ends up cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs, at which time friendship over, because, you know, that's the highest form of treason. There's not a single word in any language that could describe such black treachery as to cheer for them or favor the Montreal Canadiens over the original Quebec team. But in place of the original Quebec team, you have to support the Montreal Canadiens. It's just, you know, this is a must. But if you support any team against the Montreal Canadiens, that's also treason of the highest sort. And you're definitely a servant of Morgoth. Mm-hmm. For anyone not in the know, it's hockey. I'm not much of a hockey guy, but seriously, you know, the Quebec teams are the best. They come before all other teams.
You have the Quebec teams, then you have the Canadian team, and then way at the bottom you've got the American teams.
Yeah, but between them you have the Russian team from 1987.
Oh, of course.
With the one match with the Canadian team.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was glorious. Yeah. We won the match and the fight. And trust me, check it out. It's the bloodiest actual fight in hockey history. And of course it was Canucks and French Canucks versus the Russian Bear. And we won. Sorry, I'm so freaking proud of that. Anyways, outside the Battle of Sudden Ice, let's get back to the Battle of Sudden Flame. Now, what's interesting here is that the main tribes of of the race of men are Beor and Hador that remain in Beleriand. The other tribes are pushed east back over the Blue Mountains. That's a remarkable accomplishment, and that's something very interesting. I really love that part of the lore, because it means that a good chunk of the men that were pushed back later, I think, become the ancestors of the likes of the Rohirrim. Quite possibly. Which is freaking cool! Sorry. I shouldn't geek out too much. Now, Thu, I'll say Thu. It's probably pronounced Thu. Thu claims Syrian, and he is Morgoth's herald, or I should say his vizier. I'll get to him in a minute. He gets the Isle of Syrian and the tower there. Now, Barahir, as we said, saves Finrod. Now, on page 108 of Beren and Luthien, the hardcover edition, I mean, because I had to get the hardcover edition. I really like this thing. We have the orcs that come barreling forward, and, of course, Orodreth, who inherits the throne from Finrod, who gives his throne over to Felagund because this is the last person he could possibly give it to. Now, and Orodreth also has a daughter and a son. Mm-hmm. So the succession is secured. But, Orodreth is not the best choice, but he's the most loyal of the brothers, as the Scots would put it. The most loyal. So, he doesn't really have any other options, and of the options he did have, of all of his brothers, this might be the best choice. Although I know I'm going to hear the Orodreth haters just come barreling forward, and I actually get it. No, Orodreth makes a royal mess of everything, so I'm not going to attack people or say, no, you guys have a good point. But still, I like Orodreth. I like underdogs. So, of course, Felagund and co end up heading north to try to slip over to Angband, get caught by Thu, imprisoned. There's a song battle because Felagund used his magic to disguise his friends and himself as orcs, and they even started acting like orcs. I think here the theme is you start pretending to be something for too long, you become it. And that's the idea of this elf magic. They start being warped and turning into orcs and losing themselves. Thu sees through them, and exposes, and you have a song battle. Yes, Dan, you have an actual rap battle between Felagund and Thu. Felagund actually loses. They're imprisoned, and for this chapter, wait, it's now time for me to do dun, dun, dun. There. Now, that said, guess who. Now, the name used is Thu. Tolkien later changes the name to, Sauron. What do you think of how the character changed?
Fascinating.
Yeah, because this is an early edition, this chapter. It's a very early edition of this story, or at least the first bit of the story. And then we're going to get more of the Battle of Sudden Flame for the next chapter. No, wait. It's basically the same. Let me just see. Yeah, because Tolkien rewrote it, and Christopher included it. Okay. You just have the addition of Curufin in the next chapter. Yeah. Now, Beren was technically an outlaw, and this will play a role. We could read into the Lay of Luthien, but much as I love that epic poem, and it is one of my favorites, I'd rather keep it I'd rather do an entire set of videos into the different cantos and analyzing it line by line. I want to pick that back up. The next chapter is on page 133 of the Beren and Luthien book. So this is one of those stories where it's one of the most beloved love stories of all times. And with good reason. I mean, it's got everything. It's got Beren, it's got Luthien, it's got Ch1, you've got Finrod Felagund, you have Thingol. So you've got everything. The only thing you don't have is Liu Bei or Cao Cao. Well, technically you get the literary version of Cao Cao and Sauron. Technically speaking. You don't really have...
Sima Zhao.
No, I was going to say Sun Quan, but... Well, technically Mayfrost is kind of Sun Quan in a literary form. Like, I just mean they're a bit of a one-for-one in terms of literature. Sun Quan starts off good, but turns kind of foul near the end. Like, Mayfrost kind of goes for the same thing in terms of literary characterization. Huh. And I know people will say there's no influence of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. No. There definitely is. Tolkien read it. He must have. It's just a Barahir part where he serves in the rear guard. Yes, that's a common theme in a lot of Nordic sagas. But the way it's described with how he rescues Finrod is the same as how Ch1 rescues Liu Bei and Liu Shan in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. We have a direct literary parallel, but we also have the Campbellian influence that cannot be underestimated. And that's just some of the beauty of Tolkien's literature. You can really see a lot of different influences, because you definitely see Beowulf, and you definitely see Cinderella, Cendrillon here, except Beren is the Cinderella, the Cendrillon figure. You have, I would argue, the influence of, let me see, well, you're going to have the influence of Snow White later. You're going to have influence of Brothers Grimm. You could probably already see it. Like, there's a lot of different literary influences. Beowulf, like I said, you've got arguably the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid. Even Le Chanson de Roland. You might have seen it in the Battle of the Sun and Flame with the war horns and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot. Hell, Theoden is basically just Roland, except older and a king. Theoden and his Rohirrim, it's a one-for-one with the scene from Chanson de Roland against the Basques / Muslims. It's the same scene, basically. Tolkien reused and reinterpreted a myriad of scenes of folklore and mythology and re-channeled them into this grand and magnificent mythology of his. So, yeah, this was a really good chapter. And you really do see a lot of different influences. Thoughts on it?
It was rather beautiful. And just this chapter alone can be a great TV series, but I wouldn't trust anyone to do it.
No, pas du tout. I could see maybe... Weirdly, I'm actually going to say it might be... I've been seeing some dramas and movies from France and Spain that are pretty good and pretty traditional in some ways. So maybe they could handle it. But I don't know... I don't know if anyone else could. Heck, I really don't trust any... how do I put it? Any American or even British production companies. There was a time I would have said the Irish probably could produce it right, but not anymore. There was a time I might have said the Russians, because they made beautiful films once upon a time. But their film industry is now complete trash. Just like the American one, sadly. Well, maybe the Russians aren't as bad. I don't know. I saw some. We both saw some of their recent films. They're not as good, but arguably Téléfilm is pretty cool. French studios might be able to do it. They did a really good rendition of Comte de Monte Cristo recently.
Yeah.
I just say Spain makes some great movies and shows because Spain is still knocking it out of the ballpark. Spain's still awesome. I'd probably want the Spanish to treat it, with maybe assistance from some of the French. But I don't trust anyone else. I don't even trust The Hunt for Golem. That's going to come out. I don't even trust that. So yeah, this was a beautiful story. There was a time I would have said the Germans could have produced something beautiful, but they've been captured. And they've gone weird. Not the German people, but the German media and whatnot. But the trouble is, the whole of German media and television is controlled from the U.S. And if you don't believe me, there are treaties and documents pertaining to this since 1945. The Germans are not allowed to own their own media or news companies or television companies.
Until 2099.
Yeah. They are all owned by the United States. And so Germany's not allowed to produce their own shows. They're allowed to produce it in German I mean, but it's not by the Germans for the Germans. It's by the US for the Germans. And if you imagine how bad Hollywood's gotten lately, it's worse when you consider the fact that, they have to deconstruct and subvert even more in Germany. And this is a sad fact of life. Yeah, 2099. Wow. And we recently found that part out. That's pretty horrifying. But that said, maybe the Danish could do something interesting. Because the Danish, remember they produced that great Omlad movie, and them in England co-produced that great Omlad movie in Omlad film. Remember Prince of Jutland from the 90s? Oh, with Christian Bale, that was awesome. They could probably do something. I like the Danes. But anyways, tell us what you think, and tell us who you think could produce a great Beren and Luthien adaptation. Hopefully we'll be out again with another Beren and Luthien chapter. We really love this story. So until next time, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button, and to check out our Substack, where we're producing even better stuff than our videos. Actually, we are. It's pretty awesome over there. And don't forget to also, if you're feeling generous, pay the $8 subscription fee for a full year's subscription, because that goes to the publication of our books. So until next time, stay awesome.